Chapter 40-30. Qiu took a fancy to a few broken divine weapons, but Lu Ming couldn't afford any of them. The most expensive broken spear actually cost 1,000,000 merit points, which was as high as a top ancient secret technique. It was simply shocking. At the same time, Lu Ming was also tempted. This was just a broken divine weapon that had lost its spirituality, yet it still had such a high price. One could imagine how terrifying the origin of this divine weapon was. If it was swallowed and refined by Qiu, the harvest would definitely be unimaginable. Merit points, it was still merit points. He realized that he was seriously lacking merit points, incomparably lacking in merit points. There were simply too many good things in the heavenly palace. Just looking at them would make one drool. Unfortunately, he didn't have any merit points, so he could only look at them. In the end, Lu Ming chose some cheap broken divine weapons and exchanged them. This way, Lu Ming only had a few dozen merit points left. A few 100,000 merit points were used up in a few moments. Lu Ming retreated and waited quietly. After half a day, Ling Yue and Dandan finally finished exchanging. Merit points, I want merit points. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have given you the demon prince's demon spirit blood. My treasure, Dandan wailed the moment he saw Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with flames of greed. Although Ling Yue was slightly better, her eyes were also emitting an inexplicable light. From time to time, she would turn her head to look at a few light balls with a reluctant look. Obviously, they had also seen treasures that moved them. Unfortunately, they didn't have any merit points to exchange. Lu Muyun, after 10 years, we must get more merit points. Dandan shouted again. In his excitement, he almost let it slip. Of course. Let's go back first. I plan to cultivate for a while before going to the fortune tower. What about you guys? Lu Ming said. He had just obtained the great binding technique and planned to cultivate it for a while before going to the fortune tower. In any case, he would only be able to enter the fortune tower for 3 years. If he wanted to enter after that, he would have to spend merit points. Therefore, there was no rush. I plan to go to the fortune tower to cultivate first. Ling Yue said. Me too, Dandan said. Lu Ming nodded. Everyone had different cultivation plans, so there was no need to force them together. Immediately, the 3 of them left the merit exchange hall and separated. Lu Ming returned to the Heavenly River Barracks, while Dandan and Ling Yue went to the fortune tower to cultivate. After returning to the barracks, Lu Ming gave Qiu the broken divine weapons that he had exchanged for. Then, he took out the great binding art and started cultivating it. The difficulty of cultivating the great binding art was about the same as the great shatter art and the great devil sword art. As Lu Ming's cultivation base increased, the taboo power constantly transformed his body. His perception also became stronger and stronger, and the speed at which he comprehended various secret arts became faster and faster. Without any external help, Lu Ming had mastered the great binding technique in just 2 years. During these 2 years, it was very peaceful, and no one came to disturb him. Although the angels hated Lu Ming to the bone and wanted to kill him, the heavenly palace had a rule that heavenly soldiers were not allowed to kill each other. Naturally, no one dared to violate the heavenly rules. After mastering the great binding art, Lu Ming got up and headed to the fortune tower. The fortune tower was divided into 7 levels. He was a 2nd grade heavenly soldier and could enter the 2nd level. The 2nd level offered even better opportunities than the 1st level. After verifying with his identity token, Lu Ming successfully entered the 2nd level of the Creation Pagoda. Once he entered the 2nd level of the Creation Pagoda, he appeared on a bridge. It was a stone bridge that extended forward. Surrounding the stone bridge was a vast expanse of void. It was an endless void. Lu Ming walked along the stone bridge. After walking for about half an hour, a stone staircase appeared on one side of the stone bridge. It led to the void below. The void here was very strange. There seemed to be a mysterious force blocking Lu Ming's vision, preventing him from seeing too far. Hence, when he looked down, he couldn't see the end of the stone staircase. It seemed to extend into the distance. Below this stone staircase should be a land of fortune. Let's go down and take a look. With a thought, Lu Ming followed the stone staircase and stepped down. After at least tens of thousands of steps, Lu Ming reached the end and arrived at a flat piece of land. The moment he stepped on the ground, Lu Ming felt an aura as heavy as a mountain in front of him. This aura was ancient, like the aura of the beginning of the universe. Lu Ming was very familiar with this aura. It was clearly the aura of a primordial god spirit. The aura of a primordial god spirit is coming from ahead, and it's extremely thick. Lu Ming was extremely curious and hurried forward. The further he went, the stronger the aura of the primordial god spirit became. Lu Ming had once entered the place where the primordial god spirit was born in the primordial god spirit world. He had personally felt that aura. At that time, Lu Ming had to rely on the purple copper coffin to resist that aura. At this moment, Lu Ming felt that the aura of the primordial god spirit here seemed to be catching up to the place where the primordial god spirit was born. However, Lu Ming's current cultivation level was many times more powerful than before. He could already rely on his own strength to resist it. After walking for a while, Lu Ming found many celestial soldiers sitting cross-legged on the ground. These celestial soldiers were all wearing silver armor with golden edges. They were obviously second-class celestial soldiers. These people were shining with divine light. They were cultivating wholeheartedly. They are all using the aura of the primordial god spirit to comprehend the origin divine power factor or origin secret art. Lu Ming thought. The aura of the primordial god spirit here was too strong. It was the best place to cultivate the origin divine power factor or origin secret arts. In the Taishu dynasty, they used the primordial god statue to comprehend the origin divine power factor or origin secret arts. The primordial god statue contained the flesh and bones of the primordial god spirit and had the aura of the primordial god spirit. However, the aura of the primordial god statue was far from comparable to here. If one cultivated here, the origin divine power factor or origin secret arts would definitely improve rapidly. If one cultivated here for 3 years, it was normal to have a major breakthrough in one of them. No wonder it was said that it was an opportunity, a fortune. What is in front? How can there be such a strong primordial god spirit aura? Lu Ming looked forward. He wanted to see what was in front of him. Unfortunately, there was a mysterious force blocking his vision. He could not see far. This piqued Lu Ming's curiosity and he wanted to find out more. Lu Ming continued forward. Lu Ming found that the further he went, the stronger the aura of the primordial god spirit. However, the pressure also increased. Therefore, the further he went, the fewer celestial soldiers there were. Lu Ming also felt the terrifying pressure. It was as if he was walking with a few planets on his back. However, when he activated his taboo power, he was able to easily block the pressure. Chapter 4031. With the taboo power, Lu Ming was able to withstand the pressure easily, allowing him to move at an extremely fast pace. Towards the end, he could no longer see any heavenly soldiers cultivating here. The pressure here was already extremely terrifying. Lu Ming did not stop and continued to move forward. After walking for a few more hours, the scene in front of him suddenly opened up. Then, Lu Ming was stunned. Then, his eyes and mouth opened wider and wider. He stood there in a daze, looking ahead. Shocked, extremely shocked. Because there was a huge figure in front of him. This figure was simply too tall. Standing there, it towered into the sky. Its massive body was like a planet. It was not an exaggeration, but a fact. This huge figure was so huge that it was no smaller than an ordinary planet in the starry sky. Primordial divine spirit. These 4 words appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Yes, this figure was the primordial divine spirit. It was not a phantom, nor was it an illusion. It was the real thing, a real primordial god. Moreover, it was a living primordial divine spirit. However, this primordial divine spirit was covered in dense runes. At the same time, there were 8 huge chains on his body that locked him up. The 8 chains extended in 8 different directions. The runes and chains had completely locked this primordial divine spirit. This primordial divine spirit's aura was weak, but he was not dead yet. When Lu Ming arrived, this primordial divine spirit opened his eyes. Lu Ming immediately felt two terrifying light beams appear in the sky, as if two suns had appeared. Then, a terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. Oh no! Lu Ming's figure retreated rapidly, but he was still swept by the force. Cracking sounds came from his body as dozens of bones were broken. With a swoosh, Lu Ming's body retreated like a meteorite. In an instant, he had retreated at least hundreds of thousands of miles before he fell heavily to the ground and vomited several mouthfuls of blood. However, Lu Ming couldn't be bothered with his injuries. Circulating his forbidden energy, he retreated again. Only when he was more than 1,000,000 miles away did Lu Ming stop, gasping for air. Terrifying, it was too terrifying. If he hadn't retreated quickly, his body would have exploded from the pressure of the aura. Is this the primordial god? What a terrifying strength. Just by opening his eyes, Lu Ming was secretly shocked. This primordial godly spirit was obviously sealed by runes and chained up. Its aura was weak, but just by opening its eyes, Lu Ming was already unable to bear the pressure. It was truly terrifying to the extreme. When this primitive god was at its peak, what level was it equivalent to? Was it at the level of the Lord of Heaven, or even stronger? Lu Ming had no way of guessing. In this era, there are still living primitive gods, and they are imprisoned in the heavenly palace. If this were to spread, I'm afraid it would cause an uproar. The foundation of the heavenly palace is really terrifying, Lu Ming thought. The closer he got to the heavenly palace, the more he felt the power of the heavenly palace. At the same time, he also felt a strong pressure. Because sooner or later, he would be on the opposite side of the heavenly palace. One was because he had a forbidden body, and the other was because of Xian Yanqing. It's a pity that my past self isn't here. Otherwise, my progress would be very fast. This place is too suitable. Then, Lu Ming sighed. What he was cultivating now was a forbidden body. It was useless to cultivate here. His past self mainly cultivated divine power and origin secret techniques. It was too suitable to cultivate here. There was a real, living primitive god here. What place could be better than this place for cultivating divine power of origin and secret arts of origin? If his past self came here, he would definitely be able to advance by leaps and bounds. I wonder how my past self is cultivating on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. But it shouldn't be bad, Lu Ming thought. After all, the Dragon Clan's mother planet had been revived. The cultivation conditions were also unique. In addition, there were two peerless figures, Fei Huang and Ao Qian, on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. His cultivation would definitely be amazing. This place is not suitable for me to cultivate. I'd better go somewhere else. Lu Ming shook his head and walked back. He walked along the stone stairs and returned to the stone bridge. Then, he continued to walk along the stone bridge. After walking for a while, he saw another stone staircase that led to the bottom. Lu Ming walked down the stone staircase and came to a flat ground. Whoosh! As soon as he reached the ground, Lu Ming heard the sound of waves in front of him. At the same time, there was still a strong aura of the primitive god. There's still the aura of the primitive god. Is there another primitive god in front of me? Lu Ming was puzzled and walked forward. Soon, he saw a pool. In the pool, there was not water, but a special liquid that was purple gold. The sound of waves that he had heard before came from here. At the same time, the aura of the primitive god was also emitted from here. Lu Ming saw many heavenly soldiers soaked in the pool of liquid. Their bodies were shrouded in all kinds of divine light. This liquid, could it be? Lu Ming's eyes widened. Without a doubt, this liquid is the blood of the primitive god, Ji Mo said coldly. Hiss, Lu Ming gasped a breath of cold air. So much liquid was the blood of the primitive god. No wonder there was a strong aura of the primitive god. The blood of the primitive god is not necessarily red. There are different colors. The blood of the primitive god here has obviously been refined. The murderous intent has been erased, leaving only a not very strong aura. It can be absorbed and refined, tempering the divine body and divine power, and improving one's cultivation, Ji Mo said. What a big deal, Lu Ming exclaimed. They were using the blood of the primitive god to cultivate. Lu Ming could not help but think of the primitive god that was still alive. The heavenly palace imprisoned the primitive god and did not kill him. They were using the primitive god to cultivate the elites. The primitive god had become a tool for the heavenly palace to cultivate the elites. I should be able to absorb the blood of the primitive god, right? Lu Ming stepped out and entered the lake. Suddenly, a terrifying aura rushed toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body hurt as if he was being cut by a knife. The aura of the primitive god's blood was not completely erased. Obviously, the heavenly palace had deliberately left it behind to train the cultivators here. With the impact of this aura, the potential in Lu Ming's cells was stimulated and turned into forbidden power. At the same time, all the cells in his body greedily absorbed the energy outside. Pure energy flowed from the primitive god's blood into Lu Ming's body, forming a virtuous cycle. Amazing. If I cultivate here, my cultivation speed will greatly increase. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he continued to cultivate. A few days passed in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming found that his cultivation had improved a lot. Chapter 4032. Cultivating in the primordial god's blood allowed one's cultivation to improve very quickly. Although it was not as fast as a battle of life and death, it was still many times faster than cultivating by himself. The key was that cultivating here did not consume the energy of the Elvenwood heart. He only needed to absorb the energy of the primordial god's blood. However, Lu Ming still ended his cultivation at this time. Let's go ahead and see if there's anything else before making a decision. Lu Ming got up and left this place. He returned to the stone bridge and continued forward. This time, after walking for a distance, he found that the stone bridge had come to an end. At the end of the bridge, there was a stone staircase that led downwards. Lu Ming walked down the stone staircase and came to the ground below. This ground was filled with strange rocks. On these rocks, there were strange patterns that Lu Ming did not recognize at all. Following these rocks, he kept moving forward. After walking for a distance, he suddenly heard many mysterious sounds entering his ears. It was difficult to describe what this sound was like. As soon as he heard it, Lu Ming felt that he had completely calmed down and his soul had entered an ethereal state. Could this be the primordial god sound? In his sea of consciousness, Ji Mo exclaimed, seemingly very excited. Primordial god sound? What's that? Lu Ming asked. The primordial god sound is known as the earliest sound in the world. It's the first sound that appeared when the universe was first created. It's incomparably mysterious and can help people comprehend the Tao, Ji Mo explained. Lu Ming was shocked. It was actually the first sound of the universe. The heavenly palace occupies the primitive universe. There are indeed some good things. Do you see these rocks? They should be left behind when the universe was first created. After a strange arrangement, they can continuously produce the primordial god sound. Kid, if you cultivate here, the speed of your comprehension of various secret techniques will be millions of times faster, Ji Mo said. Alright, let's give it a try then, Lu Ming said and continued forward because he felt that the further he went, the better the effect of the primordial god sound would be. In front of him, the figures of the heavenly soldiers had begun to appear. Some of the heavenly soldiers sat on the ground and quietly comprehended. However, compared to the previous two places, the number of heavenly soldiers cultivating here was much smaller. After all, most of the people in the primitive universe cultivated divine power. As for cultivating divine power and comprehending origin secret arts, it would be best to cultivate in the first place. If he wanted to improve his divine body and cultivation base, the second place would be the best place to cultivate. Those who cultivated here were usually trying to comprehend some secret techniques or physique secret techniques. Therefore, there were very few people who cultivated here. However, this place was most suitable for Lu Ming. Lu Ming found a place and sat down cross-legged. Almost instantly, he entered an ethereal state. In his mind, the cultivation method of the Great God Wind technique appeared. Furthermore, he immediately gained some understanding. So easy. Lu Ming realized that it was much easier to comprehend secret techniques here than before. Immediately, Lu Ming closed his eyes and focused on comprehending the great godly wind technique. In any case, no one would dare to make a move here, so he could cultivate in peace. Time passed day by day. After about 3 months, Lu Ming opened his eyes. Have a breakthrough. The great godly wind technique had a breakthrough. Previously, Lu Ming had already cultivated the great godly wind technique to the small success realm. Now, the great godly wind technique had reached the greater success realm. The further one cultivated an ancient secret technique, the harder it was to improve. If it was outside, Lu Ming would not be able to cultivate the great godly wind technique to the greater success realm without 100 years of cultivation. This was also because he had a forbidden body and had an abnormal comprehension ability. But here, it was completed in 3 months. Abnormal. Kid, your forbidden body already has amazing comprehension ability. Combined with the primordial divine sound, it's simply abnormal. Jiu Mo shouted, full of jealousy. This was the first time Jiu Mo was so jealous. Ha, continue. Lu Ming was also overjoyed. He planned to cultivate here first. Although he could improve his cultivation base in the second place, Lu Ming weighed the pros and cons and decided to cultivate various secret techniques first. This was a decision that Lu Ming made after careful consideration. After all, he only had 3 years. Time was limited. In terms of cultivation base, he had a forbidden body. As long as there was pressure and as long as he experienced a life and death battle, he could continuously stimulate the potential in his cells. His cultivation base would improve very quickly. Although he could also improve his cultivation base quickly in the second place, it was not as cost-effective as here. This was because cultivating various secret techniques was very time-consuming under normal circumstances. But here, he could save a lot of time. Comparing the two, this place was more cost-effective. After all, under normal circumstances, it was relatively easy for Lu Ming to improve his cultivation base. But cultivating secret techniques was not so simple. In addition, under the same realm, the higher the mastery of the secret technique, the stronger the combat power. In the Heavenly Palace, Lu Ming was surrounded by strong enemies. The higher his cultivation base, the more he would attract the attention of those strong enemies. And the lower his cultivation base, the more his enemies would look down on him. Under the same realm, the stronger the combat power, the more advantageous it was for Lu Ming. After considering these factors, Lu Ming decided to first comprehend various secret techniques here. After cultivating the Great God Wind technique to greater mastery, Lu Ming temporarily put it aside and began to comprehend the Great Shattering technique. It was even easier to cultivate from beginner to lesser mastery. It only took him a few days to succeed. Then, it took him a few months to cultivate to greater mastery. Then, it was the Great Devil Sword technique and Great Binding technique. It took Lu Ming a total of 1 year and a few months to cultivate the 4 primordial mystic skills to the phenomenal success stage. After casting them, their prowess increased tremendously. After comprehending the 4 ancient secret techniques, Lu Ming began to comprehend the ordinary secret techniques. In the past, although those ordinary secret techniques had turned into secret technique runes and merged into his cells, they had not been cultivated to greater mastery. They were just beginner. After merging into his cells, they could slowly improve. But now, with such a good environment, Lu Ming planned to cultivate all the ordinary secret techniques to greater mastery. Ordinary secret techniques were many times easier than ancient secret techniques, but there were too many of them. There were a total of 1,300 kinds. So many secret techniques were also time-consuming. Lu Ming spent more than a year to cultivate all 1,300 kinds of ordinary secret techniques to greater mastery. In this way, the quality of Lu Ming's forbidden power had also increased. Now, although Lu Ming's cultivation was still in the second godly emperor realm, his combat power had increased. Of course, it did not allow Lu Ming to have the ability to kill enemies who were several levels higher. After all, in the godly emperor realm, it was too difficult to kill enemies who were 1 level higher. In the past, Lu Ming could kill enemies who were 5 levels higher. Now, it was about 5.5. He could not kill enemies who were 6 levels higher. Only half was already very amazing. Now, in a battle of the same level, Lu Ming was absolutely confident that he could defeat the battle god Yuan Wen. The premise was that the battle god Yuan Wen had not improved too much. Chapter 4033. At this point in his cultivation, there was still half a year before the 3-year deadline. In the remaining half a year, Lu Ming planned to go to the second place to cultivate and raise his cultivation. This is really a good place. In the future, if I obtain more secret techniques or ancient secret techniques, I can come here to cultivate. It can save me a lot of time. Lu Ming pondered, then got up and left. Not long after, he returned to the second place and entered the lake formed entirely from the blood of primordial gods. He began to condense the forbidden power. Cultivating here allowed him to improve very quickly. Of course, it couldn't compare to the effects of a life and death battle. In a life and death battle, sometimes there would be an explosive increase, but here, it was gradual. At every moment, there would be an improvement, like a small stream flowing. When the 3-year deadline was about to arrive, Lu Ming's cultivation made another breakthrough, stepping into the 3rd level of the Divine Emperor realm. There should be a few more days. I can consolidate my cultivation. I can't waste it. The time wasn't up yet, so Lu Ming continued to cultivate. Even if there were a few days, he couldn't waste it. It was free now, but in the future, if he wanted to come in and cultivate for a few days, he would have to spend contribution points. 7 days later, Lu Ming's identity token suddenly lit up, and a wave of energy enveloped Lu Ming. With a sweep, Lu Ming found that he had already left the lake and appeared at the head of the stone bridge above. There seemed to be a layer of restriction in front of him, blocking his path. Time was up. How stingy, not even a day. Lu Ming curled his lips, looking as if he hadn't had enough. Then, he turned around and left the fortune tower. When he returned to his residence, he found that Dandan and Ling Yuwei were also there. Dandan and Ling Yuwei had already gone to the fortune tower, so they had already returned. After cultivating in the fortune tower for a few years, Dandan and Ling Yuwei had gained quite a bit. He found that both of their cultivations had broken through by 1 level. Dandan had stepped into the 2nd level of the Divine Emperor realm, and Ling Yuwei had stepped into the 4th level of the Divine Emperor realm. As for the Origin Secret Technique and the Origin Divine Power Factor, they didn't fight, so it couldn't be seen how much they had gained. But the harvest was definitely not small. You only broke through 1 level on the 2nd level? I thought you could at least break through 2 levels. Ling Yuwei curiously sized up Lu Ming. The effects of the 2nd level of the Blessings Tower should be better than the 1st level. I spent most of my time comprehending the Origin Secret Art. Lu Ming told a small lie, he did not have any Origin Source Secret Technique. Let's hurry up and consolidate our cultivation. In a few years, we'll have to go on a mission. Ling Yuwei did not hesitate, but changed the topic. Do you know what kind of mission we will have? Lu Ming asked. I've asked around. Normally, the first 10 years after becoming a heavenly soldier is the adaptation period. There are no missions. After 10 years, the new heavenly soldier will be sent to the Dark Universe to guard Nantian City for 100 years. Ling Yuwei said. Is it still the Dark Universe? Lu Ming's heart stirred. When the time comes, I can take the opportunity to plunder some evil demon spirit blood and exchange it for merit points. I wonder what conditions are required for us heavenly soldiers to come into contact with the core figures of the heavenly palace. Lu Ming muttered. I've already asked around. The core figures of the heavenly palace, such as the personal disciples of the great figures of the heavenly palace, are all cultivating in the core areas of the heavenly palace. They rarely come to the Dream Sky City. If you want to come into contact with such people, you need to be at least at the divine general level. This time, it was Dandan who spoke. He knew Lu Ming's true identity, and he also knew that Lu Ming's purpose in joining the heavenly palace was for the mid-autumn moon. Therefore, after he came out of the Blessings Tower, he had asked around. The two of them came from powerful clans. In the past, there were people in their clans who had already become heavenly soldiers, so they naturally had the means to inquire about some information. Divine general level? Lu Ming frowned. To become a divine general, one had to accumulate at least 10 million merit points. Lu Ming was currently too far away from 10 million merit points. Fine, I'll accumulate merit points while cultivating in the Heavenly Palace. The mid-autumn moon will help the worthy, so it should be fine. Lu Ming pondered. No matter how anxious he was, it was useless. He might as well cultivate peacefully and increase his strength. After all, the cultivation conditions in the Heavenly Palace were not comparable to other places. It was blessed by the heavens and was very rare. Moreover, Fei Huang and Ao Qian had told him that the great figures of the Heavenly Palace would take the initiative to take away a young man. Most likely, they had taken a fancy to his talent and were bringing him back to nurture. After all, the Heavenly Palace would also secretly nurture a group of geniuses. The Heavenly Palace also needed a constant influx of new blood in order to maintain its strength. Ling Yue curiously sized up Lu Ming and Dandan. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that the two of them had known each other before. However, Lu Ming and Dandan didn't say anything, so she tactfully didn't ask further. Next, they peacefully cultivated in the Heavenly River Barracks, consolidating their realms, polishing their foundations, and increasing their strength. 5 to 6 years was just a blink of an eye for them. In the blink of an eye, they had been heavenly soldiers for 10 years. At this time, the war drums sounded. The heavenly soldiers in the barracks gathered above the Heavenly River and formed a neat formation. Liu Fang, Hu Yong, a few tall, burly men in purple armor arrived in front of them. Divine General. In the military camp of the Heavenly Palace, only the Divine Generals wore purple standard armor. These people were all Divine Generals. Their auras were as thick and unfathomable as mountains. One of the Divine Generals began to read out names. Mu Yun, Ling Yue. Soon, the names of Lu Ming and the others were read out. After reading out the names, the Divine General said, "These people, follow us to the Dark Universe. For the next 100 years, you will spend your time in the Dark Universe's Nantian City, cooperating with the Heavenly Soldiers and Heavenly Generals of Nantian City to guard Nantian City and hunt down demon." "Yes, sir." Everyone replied loudly. "Let's go." With a command, everyone followed the Divine Generals and set off towards the Dark Universe. Even if it was their second time here, they would still be shocked by the scene along the way. After a period of time, they once again arrived at Nantian City. Nantian City was incomparably huge. It spanned across a vast expanse of land, blocking the demons from entering the great desolate universe from the abyss. Lu Ming and the others were stationed at the northern city wall of Nantian City. This section of the city wall was the one they needed to protect. Of course, it was impossible for this section of the city wall to only have new heavenly soldiers like them. There were also many old heavenly soldiers. These new heavenly soldiers were mainly there to cooperate with the old heavenly soldiers to train themselves. Of course, although the city walls of Nantian City were called city walls, they were unbelievably wide. Needless to say, they were hundreds of millions of miles long. It was tens of billions of miles wide. It was even vaster than many planets. It was said that some parts of the city wall were built from the remains of planets. At a glance, one could see a boundless army camp on top of the city wall. There were many huge buildings. Lu Ming and the others were in a barracks. Chapter 4034. On the third day that Lu Ming and company arrived at Nantian City, the Divine General of this section of the city wall gathered all the heavenly soldiers. The celestial soldiers were lined up in neat rows. There were third-rate celestial soldiers wearing silver armor, second-rate celestial soldiers wearing gold-rimmed armor, and first-rate celestial soldiers wearing gold-rimmed armor. Everyone held their breaths as they stared at the Divine Generals in front of them. The garrisons of Nantian City were based on city walls. Every section of the city wall had several Divine Generals leading tens of thousands of heavenly soldiers to guard it. Lu Ming and company had a total of 30,000 heavenly soldiers on this section of the city wall. 3 days ago, a new batch of heavenly soldiers joined our 33rd city wall. Therefore, many of you will need to be reorganized. In the past few days, we have already reorganized you. Now, the first-rate heavenly soldiers whose names are called, come forward. Immediately, A divine general read out the names of the first-rate heavenly soldiers. There were a total of 30 of them. The 30 of you, each of you will command 1,000 heavenly soldiers. This is your quota. A divine general gave the jade talismans to the first-rate heavenly soldiers. Today, it was mainly to reorganize the team. Next, it was to reorganize the team. Among the heavenly soldiers, a first-rate heavenly soldier could command 1,000 heavenly soldiers, including second-rate and third-rate heavenly soldiers. As for a second-rate heavenly soldier, he could command 49 third-rate heavenly soldiers. Including himself, there were 50 of them. Lu Ming was a second-rate heavenly soldier, and his subordinates were also assigned to 49 third-rate heavenly soldiers. Coincidentally, Dandan and Ling Yue were also assigned to him. Perhaps it was because they were together and were on the same side. After all, it was easier to command them. After all of them were assigned, they would be assigned a place to live according to the team. A team was basically assigned together to make it easier to manage. Lu Ming was once again assigned a place to live. It was much more luxurious than before. This was what a second-rate heavenly soldier deserved. Lu Ming's residence. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect the 3 of us to be assigned together. Our luck is pretty good. Dandan laughed. Lu Ming also revealed a smile. The 3 of them were assigned together so that they could take care of each other. Hunting abyss devils together and obtaining merit points would also be more convenient. Mu Yun, don't let your guard down. There are quite a number of veteran heavenly soldiers in our team. I saw that the way they looked at you just now was rather unfriendly. They seem to be very unconvinced. I'm afraid that they won't easily obey you, Ling Yue said. If they're not convinced, then we'll beat them into submission. Lu Ming smiled. He knew that these people were looking down on him. After all, he only had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer, which wasn't very high among the celestial soldiers. It was normal for these old heavenly soldiers to look down on him. He didn't care about these people at all. Instead, he cared more about the angels. This was Nantian City, not Dream Sky City. The heavenly rules were not that strict. In the military camp, heavenly soldiers were allowed to fight with each other. As long as no lives were lost, the higher-ups would not care. This was still within Nantian City. If they left Nantian City and entered the territory of the evil demons, there would be even less restrictions. There would definitely be many cases of killing each other secretly. The angels wanted to kill him, so they wouldn't give up so easily. In another huge building, a group of celestial soldiers were gathered together to drink and eat meat. They were all old heavenly soldiers who had been assigned to Lu Ming's team. Ph, that Mu Yun only has the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer. I really don't know how he managed to become a second-class celestial soldier, said a young man around 30 years old coldly. I think that he got lucky during the exam and became a second-class celestial soldier. I don't believe that he became a second-class celestial soldier on his own. That's right. A mere 3rd godly emperor layer, how could he become a second-class celestial soldier? The other old heavenly soldiers were talking one after another. Those who could become celestial soldiers weren't weak. They were all geniuses. They had seen countless geniuses. They had also seen many candidates for the Universe Young Geniuses list. Even a candidate for the Universe Young Geniuses list couldn't become a second-class celestial soldier with the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer. Besides, he had only had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer after receiving the benefits of the Fortune Tower for 3 years. Maybe he hadn't even had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer during the exam. Therefore, they thought that Lu Ming was just lucky. If we follow a weak captain and hunt demons, not only will it be useless, it might even be harmful. That's right. I think we should think of a way to make him step down. What should we do? According to the rules of the Heavenly Palace, if we take the initiative to challenge him, we will be offending our superiors. However, if he attacks us first, then we can fight back. If his strength is not as good as ours, then let's see how he can be the leader. The old heavenly soldiers quickly came up with a plan. Second-class celestial soldiers led 49 third-class celestial soldiers. They were captains. The next few days were calm. 3 days later, Lu Ming's superior, the first-class celestial soldier, called for a meeting. Lu Ming came to a huge hall and discovered that the first-grade heavenly soldier was already seated high up. Below him, there were already 20 figures seated. They were all second-grade heavenly soldiers. "Greetings, Captain." Lu Ming cupped his fist and bowed to the first-class celestial soldier. First-class celestial soldiers led 1,000 celestial soldiers. The captain's name was Liu Daneng. "Captain Mu, sit." Liu Daneng waved his hand and gestured for Lu Ming to sit. Lu Ming sat down on a seat. "All right, everyone is here. The main purpose of calling you here today is to distribute the array talismans. I hope you can cooperate well with your team members when you go back. It won't be long before you go to the battlefield," Liu Daneng said. "Array talismans?" Lu Ming looked curious. Then, Liu Daneng took out 20 jade boxes from his storage ring. With a wave of his hand, the 20 jade boxes flew to Lu Ming and the rest. Lu Ming reached out and took them. "Open them and take a look," Liu Daneng said. Lu Ming opened the jade box and found 50 silver-white jade talismans. The jade talismans were very thin, like paper, and engraved with mysterious runes. This kind of jade talisman is a formation talisman. Stick the formation talisman on your armor, and you and your team members will be able to form a large formation. You will be able to bring out your strength to the maximum. However, you will need to practice for a while, Liu Daneng said. "There's actually such an array talisman. How wonderful!" Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. Generally, sects or powerful races would have battle arrays. When many people worked together, they could erupt with amazing power. However, these battle arrays were not easy to work together. Secondly, each person needed to practice for a long time. Only then could they work together and form a battle array. As for the array talismans, as long as they were stuck on the armor and practiced for a while, they could erupt with amazing power. It could save a lot of time. Chapter 40-35. Next, Liu Daneng roughly explained the drill method to them and then let them leave. Back at the place where they were stationed, Lu Ming immediately gathered his 49 team members. However, after those old heavenly soldiers heard the order, they arrived late. Furthermore, they had dispirited appearances. Lu Ming sneered and said nothing. He took out the array talismans and said, "This is an array talisman. Everyone, take one and stick it on the standard armor." Lu Ming distributed the array talismans to the 49 team members. Lu Ming also took out a piece of paper and pasted it on the standard armor. Immediately, the array talisman emitted a burst of light like mercury and merged into the armor seed and disappeared. At the same time, the other 49 people also stuck the array talismans on their armor and merged it with the armor seed. At that moment, their armors emitted a faint glow, as if they were resonating with each other. It was as if their auras would intertwine to form an array. "How wonderful!" Lu Ming exclaimed. Then, he told everyone the drill method of the array talisman. "Now, let's start the drill and familiarize ourselves with this array as soon as possible," Lu Ming ordered. Buzz buzz buzz, everyone began to practice according to the drill method. When they poured their power into the battle armor seed, the battle armor immediately began to shine, and special runes began to appear. Then, it was as if there were invisible threads connecting them together. With a roar and a burst of light, a golden divine sword appeared above them. It was incomparably huge. This was a divine sword condensed by the battle array, and its power was astonishing. Slash! Lu Ming shouted. He was the core of this array and could freely control it. The golden divine sword slashed toward the ground. However, before it could reach the ground, the battle sword suddenly trembled and collapsed. When the battle array was operating, there was an obstruction. This was because someone was not operating smoothly. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold as he looked in a direction. There were some old heavenly soldiers there. Just now, Lu Ming had clearly sensed that the obstruction came from this place. When the old heavenly soldiers saw Lu Ming looking over, they sneered and looked at Lu Ming fearlessly. "Again, everyone, concentrate," Lu Ming shouted. Once again, they operated the array according to the drill method. Another golden divine sword condensed and slashed toward the ground under Lu Ming's control. But just like before, the battle sword collapsed before it could hit the ground. Lu Ming realized that it was the old heavenly soldiers again. Those bastards are stupider than pigs. They don't even know how to use a battle array. How did they sneak into the heavenly soldiers? Dandan was annoyed and yelled at him. The old heavenly soldiers looked coldly at Dandan, but they did not say anything. Again, Lu Ming did not say much. He summoned everyone to continue operating the array. However, it was still the same as before. For the next few times, the battle formation would collapse halfway through its operation. Alright, that's all for today. Go back and rest. Lu Ming waved his hand and dismissed the crowd. Lu Ming's residence. Damn it, those bastards. Bah, those bastards, they're definitely doing it on purpose. Mu Yun, why don't you teach them a lesson? Dandan shouted unhappily. The atmosphere was tense. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the reason why the battle formation was not operating smoothly was because the old heavenly soldiers had done it on purpose. No hurry. If they want to play, I'll play with them for a few days, Lu Ming sneered. Elsewhere, the old heavenly soldiers gathered. Ha ha ha, this is so satisfying. This Mu Yun is also a good-for-nothing. We've already done this, but he doesn't dare to do anything. An old heavenly soldier laughed. I told you, he was lucky during the heavenly soldier assessment. He's probably not that strong, so why would he dare to do anything to us? Another old heavenly soldier sneered. That's right. Then let's continue. Let's see what he can do. It's best if he resigns from the position of captain and replaces us with a real expert. That's right. The next day, Lu Ming gathered everyone to continue the battle array practice. However, just like yesterday, the old heavenly soldiers did not cooperate, so the battle array did not succeed. On this day, Lu Ming still did not make a move. 5 days passed. The 6th day. Lu Ming shouted, and the golden battle sword formed by the battle array slashed at the ground. However, just like before, the battle sword dissipated before it hit the ground. The battle array failed. This time, Lu Ming's face turned cold. He scanned the crowd and said, it's already the 6th day, and it's still a failure. The battle array controlled by the talisman is not that difficult, but to fail for 6 consecutive days, I think some people are too stupid to stay in my team. I'll report this and get rid of these people. At these words, the old heavenly soldiers' faces changed. If they were kicked out of a team because of their stupidity, they would lose all face. They would not be able to raise their heads in front of others in the future. Mu Yun, what do you mean by this? One of the old heavenly soldiers yelled, staring at Lu Ming with an unfriendly gaze. What do I mean? Lu Ming swept his cold gaze over the old heavenly soldiers and said coldly, I've already given you a chance. It's been 5 days, and every time there's a problem with the array's operation, it's all because of you. If you're not stupid, what are you? How can idiots like you become heavenly soldiers? What a joke. What does the battle array's failure have to do with us? You're the core of the battle array. I suspect that your cultivation is too low and your strength is too weak to activate the battle array, an old heavenly soldier said. That's right. I think we should just replace you as the captain. Get a stronger captain, and everything will be fine. That's right. You're blaming us for your own problems. What a joke. With your strength, not only will you not get any merit points by leading us to fight the devils, you'll also get us killed. The old heavenly soldiers shouted. Oh, so you're doubting my strength? Lu Ming's lips curled into a sneer. He suddenly took a step forward, and a powerful aura rose and pressed down on the old heavenly soldiers. However, the old heavenly soldiers were unafraid. They also unleashed their auras to resist, looking provocatively at Lu Ming. They were waiting for Lu Ming to make his move. If Lu Ming made the first move and they retaliated, it would not be considered as offending their superiors. As long as they defeated Lu Ming and let Lu Ming know that they were weak, they would be too embarrassed to be the captain. They would automatically step down and get a stronger captain. Since you doubt my strength, I'll give you a chance. Make your move. Defeat me, and I'll step down as the captain. Otherwise, you'd better listen to me obediently. Otherwise, you'll be severely punished. Lu Ming said coldly. Chapter 4036. Lu Ming's eyes were like lightning as he scanned these old heavenly soldiers. You took the initiative to challenge us. Don't say we offended you, said one of the celestial soldiers ferociously. He wasn't very old, but he had a big beard and looked ferocious. Of course. Lu Ming nodded. All right, I'll fight against you, shouted the young man with the big beard. A powerful chi emerged from his body. He had the strength of the top of the fifth godly emperor layer. That was the young man's cultivation level. At the same time, a huge battle axe appeared in his hands. Like a door, he slashed at Lu Ming violently. The aura was so powerful that the air vibrated. The huge battle axe went straight for Lu Ming's face. Even though the young man with the big beard only had the strength of the top of the fifth godly emperor layer, he was extremely strong. A cultivator of the fifth godly emperor layer was as strong as a cultivator of the sixth godly emperor layer. However, Lu Ming did not take this combat power seriously at all. He didn't even need to use the battle formula, he just threw a punch. Dong! Lu Ming's fist collided with the young man with the big beard's axe. An explosion spread in the air, and at the same time, there were some cracking sounds. That was the sound of the opponent's axe being broken. Lu Ming had used the great destructive technique to destroy it. The young man with the big beard trembled violently and was propelled backwards. He coughed up blood and crashed onto the ground. The young man with the big beard had been defeated in one attack. The old celestial soldiers frowned. They were astonished. That little boy is strong. He can fight against cultivators of 3 cultivation levels higher than him. He's a genius, but his cultivation level is too low. He's not qualified to lead us. The old celestial soldiers discussed secretly. Anyone else? If you don't agree, come and fight, said Lu Ming. I'll fight against you. Another young man stepped out. This young man was wearing a long purple robe and had a luxurious aura. His body was enveloped by purple light. Then, the purple light condensed into 13 divine swords. That was the young man's cultivation level. Liu Shuofeng has made his move. He can definitely defeat this guy. Liu Shuofeng is strong enough to kill cultivators who are 1 cultivation level higher than him. He's not just strong enough to defeat them, he's strong enough to kill them. He also has the strength of the 6th godly emperor layer. Even if he's talented, it's useless. A cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer dares act like he's invincible? Ridiculous. These old heavenly soldiers communicated with each other through voice transmission, their faces relaxed. They believed that the purple-robed youth's victory was assured. 13 swords of the Purple Mountain, sword breaking the 9 heavens. Liu Shuofeng let out a long roar and pushed his battle prowess to the limit. 13 purple divine swords were unleashed, and sword chi rushed towards Lu Ming. Even cultivators of the 7th godly emperor layer would have to dodge that attack. If they weren't careful, they would be killed. However, the slogan is quite loud, but it's just an embroidered pillow. Lu Ming smiled faintly. With a wave of his hand, pitch-black demonic swords appeared in the void one after another. This was the great devil sword art. Over 100 swords appeared, and they shot toward Liu Shuofeng like a torrential storm. Clang, clang, clang. A series of collisions rang out. Liu Xiaofeng's 13 violet divine swords were directly destroyed by the great devil sword art. The sword chi didn't stop. Liu Shuofeng gave a horrible shriek and was blown away. He coughed up blood, and many wounds appeared on his body. Liu Shuofeng, who had the strength of the 7th godly emperor layer, had been defeated in one strike. This was an internal battle, so of course, they didn't use heavenly soldiers' armor. Otherwise, they would have used 3rd-class heavenly soldiers' armor. All the old heavenly soldiers couldn't remain calm anymore. They were astonished, and some of them took deep breaths. How terrifying! A cultivator of the 3rd godly emperor layer can defeat Liu Shuofeng. Is he also talented enough to be on the universe's young geniuses list? But his name isn't on the list of universe's young geniuses list. He's probably a rising star. What should we do? These old heavenly soldiers were secretly communicating again. To be honest, Lu Ming's talent was really terrifying. They had already somewhat acknowledged Lu Ming's ability. However, it would be too embarrassing to take back the harsh words that they had just said. I'll fight. At this moment, a young man walked out like a god of wind. Ruan Mingyu is going to fight. Ruan Mingyu can probably defeat him. Definitely. They were all third-class heavenly soldiers. Even though they had been heavenly soldiers for a long time, they weren't very strong. If they were, they would have become second-class heavenly soldiers a long time ago. Therefore, Ruan Mingyu was the strongest of them all. He had the strength of the top of the 6th godly emperor layer, but Ruan Mingyu could defeat cultivators who were 2 cultivation levels higher than him. He could fight against cultivators of the 8th godly emperor layer. With the strength of the 8th godly emperor layer, they didn't believe they couldn't defeat Lu Ming. It's too troublesome to fight one by one. I don't have time to waste on you. Come at me together, said Lu Ming indifferently, glancing at the old heavenly soldiers. At the same time, the Zephyr Pearl appeared in his hand. A terrifying wind swept out and turned into a dozen wind blades, revolving around Lu Ming. Ruan Mingyu's body stiffened all of a sudden. His pupils dilated as he stared at the strong winds and wind blades surrounding Lu Ming in horror. This was because he felt a terrifying sense of danger from the gale wind blades. He had a bone-chilling feeling. He felt that as long as these wind blades flew towards him, he would only have a dead end. Even if he used his heavenly soldier armor, he wouldn't be able to block them. His intuition was right. Lu Ming's great godly wind technique had already reached the level of great success. He could summon even more terrifying gales from the Zephyr Pearl. Even a third-class heavenly soldier armor that could block a full-strength attack from a cultivator of the 9th godly emperor layer couldn't block a gale attack. He wasn't the only one. The other old heavenly soldiers' hair stood on end. Cold chi rose from their feet to their heads. A terrifying weapon, a terrifying weapon. They understood that it was Lu Ming's weapon. A weapon that could threaten cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer. They couldn't compete with Lu Ming. What? You don't dare attack. Come at me together, said Lu Ming. The old heavenly soldiers glanced at each other. Suddenly, Ruan Mingyu bowed hand over fist to Lu Ming and said, Mu Yun, no, Captain, you're strong enough to be our captain. I, Ruan Mingyu, am convinced. Indeed, I'm convinced too. I had eyes but failed to see. I underestimated you, Captain. You can punish me as you wish. Me too, Captain. Punish me as you wish. These old heavenly soldiers bowed to Lu Ming and admitted their mistakes. Compared to before, there was a 180-degree change in their attitude. They were now respectful. Chapter 4037. Among the celestial soldiers, some of the weaker ones only had the strength of the 8th godly emperor layer, so there weren't that many of them. Most of the 2nd celestial soldiers had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming had the Zephyr Pearl, which was a powerful weapon. He had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. As a 2nd celestial soldier, he was definitely qualified to lead them. They could only sigh. They had underestimated Lu Ming. They would never have thought that Lu Ming, who only had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer, could be so strong. Usually, even if someone had the strength of the 3rd godly emperor layer, they wouldn't be able to display the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. But Lu Ming had done it. They had underestimated him. Lu Ming was much more talented than they had imagined. When they saw Lu Ming's strength, they immediately admitted their mistakes. All right, I'll let you off this time. If there's a next time, I'll punish you severely, said Lu Ming coldly. He knew very well that these people were targeting him mainly because his cultivation level was too low. These people were afraid that Lu Ming's cultivation level was not high enough. If he led them to fight against the demons, not only would they not be able to obtain merit points, but they would also harm them. They were not targeting him. As long as he showed them how strong he was, they would be convinced. Captain, don't worry. From now on, I'll support you. Me too, said the old celestial soldiers. After all, their team would be in the same boat in the future. They would be bound together for good or ill. Since they had decided to follow Lu Ming, they couldn't be disloyal. Otherwise, when they fought against the demons, they would be the ones who would be harmed. "All right, let's start again," ordered Lu Ming. He understood that he had managed to subdue the celestial soldiers. Of course, it was impossible for them to work for him wholeheartedly and willingly. Lu Ming had no intention of subduing these people to work for him. It was just a cooperative relationship. Lu Ming needed this position to hunt demons. He only needed to obtain merit points. BZZZ. As the battle matrix was activated, a golden divine sword was formed and slashed toward the ground. Boom. There was an explosion on the ground, but it didn't leave a mark. The ground was covered with talismans. With their strength, they couldn't destroy it. That's why they dared to attack the ground. Not bad, it's very powerful. Lu Ming nodded. The old celestial soldiers didn't cause trouble, so the battle formation was activated smoothly. It was the first time, so they weren't familiar with it, and couldn't display its full strength. However, it was enough to kill cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer. Even cultivators who had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer couldn't resist it. Again. Lu Ming shouted and continued to drill the battle formation. For the next 20 days, they practiced the battle formation every day. After 20 days of practice, they could already operate it as one and unleash the power of the battle formation to its maximum. The combined attack of the battle formations was extremely terrifying. Even if it wasn't as strong as the attack of an emperor god, it wasn't too far off. It had been exactly 1 month since Lu Ming received the array talisman. At this time, Lieutenant Liu Daneng once again gathered the captains for a meeting. In recent years, the Abyss Devils have become more and more low-key, and the number of times they have attacked Nantian City has decreased. Things are a bit strange, so the Heaven Palace has decided to take advantage of this period to occupy the territory around Nantian City and use it as a stronghold. First, we can expand the area of defense. Second, we can kill some demons and weaken their strength. Therefore, we're going to send celestial soldiers to eliminate the demons around Nantian City. You're going to fight. Liu Daneng went straight to the point. Good, we're finally going to fight. We've been here for so long and haven't fought. I'm bored to death, said a tall and sturdy young man with a smile. The other captains had different expressions on their faces. Some of them looked expectant and eager to fight. As for some people, their expressions were somewhat grave. However, most of them looked expectant, such as Lu Ming. After all, they could only obtain merit points by killing demons. They couldn't get any merit points if they stayed in Nantian City all the time. Now, I'm going to assign the tasks. Feng Shu, Yarrow Chao, Song Xiaoqi, you guys will lead your men to the 2nd grade area, Hungry Wolf Mountain Range. Eliminate the demons there, Liu Daneng ordered. Yes. 3 of the captains stood up to receive the order. Mu Yun, Da Gang, Xiao Niu, the 3 of you will lead your men to 8 Snake Mountain Range and eliminate all the demons there. Don't leave a single one alive. Liu Daneng continued to give orders. Yes. Lu Ming and the other 2 stood up to receive the order. At the same time, Lu Ming muttered in his heart. What a coincidence. When he participated in the Celestial Soldier Assessment, he had headed to 8 Snake Mountain Range. Now that he had become a Celestial Soldier, his first mission to eliminate demons was also 8 Snake Mountain Range. It could only be said that enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Liu Daneng continued to give orders. Soon, all 20 captains received their tasks. Now, you guys are heading to the 2nd grade area. It's the easiest. After eliminating these areas, there will be other missions. At that time, you might enter the 3rd grade area. Set off now, Liu Daneng ordered. Everyone received the order and left the place. Lu Ming returned to the encampment and left Nantian City with 49 members. They headed towards 8 Snake Mountain Range. After leaving Nantian City, there was a vast area. This area was empty and there were no demons there. Because this area had been cleared by the Heavenly Palace, there were also strong cultivators from the Heavenly Palace patrolling the area. Therefore, it was relatively safe. The second grade and first grade areas of the 8-snake mountain range were the closest to this area. There were fewer high-level demons there. Very quickly, Lu Ming and the others arrived at the 8-snake mountain range. Lu Ming discovered that apart from the 3 teams, there were other teams. They were obviously sent by other captains. There were 10 teams in total. We should split up. That way, we can obtain more merit points, said another captain, Xiao Niu. He glanced at Lu Ming disdainfully. Lu Ming's cultivation level was only of the 3rd godly emperor layer. Surprisingly, he was on the same level as him. Xiao Niu's fighting strength was equivalent to the 9th godly emperor layer. Therefore, he didn't want to act together with Lu Ming. He was afraid that Lu Ming would drag them down. Then, Xiao Niu left with his team. After that, another captain, Da Gang, also left with his team. Apparently, he had the same idea as Xiao Niu. What a bunch of snobs. Yes, sooner or later, we'll make them sit up and take notice of us. Some people in Lu Ming's team were unhappy. Now, they were on the same boat as Lu Ming. If Lu Ming was looked down upon, it meant that they were looked down upon as well. Of course, they were unhappy. Let them be arrogant for now. Later, when we kill more demons than them, we'll see what they have to say. Yes, Captain, let's kill them, some people shouted. Chapter 4038. Let's go, ordered Lu Ming. He didn't care about other people looking down on him. To be honest, the more people looked down on him, the better it was for him. Wasn't it great to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger? A group of 50 people rushed into the 8-snake demons mountain range. Dandan, check the nearby evil demons mountain range, said Lu Ming to Dandan. Leave it to me. Dandan grinned and formed a seal with both hands. Countless runes appeared and sank into the ground and the void, disappearing without a trace. What a mysterious talisman. When the others saw Dandan attack, their eyes twinkled. They were astonished. These people were not weaklings. They still had good eyesight. As soon as they saw Dandan attack, they could tell that Dandan's Tao of Runes was very mysterious and unfathomable. They understood that they hadn't just underestimated Lu Ming, they had also underestimated Dandan. Dandan and Lu Ming were together. They couldn't help but think highly of Lu Ming. There, 120,000 li to the northwest, there's a evil demons mountain range, said Dandan. Let's go, ordered Lu Ming. He led the group to attack the evil demons mountain range. This time, it was different from last time. This time, Lu Ming was fearless. He was full of confidence. Even though in their group, only he and Ling Yuwei had the strength of the 9th godly emperor layer. Dandan's deployment spells were mysterious, but he hadn't reached the 9th godly emperor layer yet. However, they had the Heavenly Palace's deployment spell. Once it was activated, they could kill evil demons of the 9th godly emperor layer as easily as cutting vegetables. Therefore, they were fearless in the 8-snake demons mountain range. Even if they encountered the 10,000 demons god-slaughtering great deployment spell from last time, they were confident they could escape unscathed. It didn't take long for them to reach the tribe. Without the slightest suspense, the Fiend Devil tribe was exterminated, and the Fiend Devil spirit blood was collected. The evil demon's spirit blood was temporarily kept by Lu Ming. Once they returned to South Sky City, it would naturally be distributed according to merit. The Heavenly Palace had its own distribution system to ensure fairness to everyone. After annihilating this tribe, the Dandan quickly discovered another tribe, and they slaughtered their way over. No one would show mercy to demons. No matter how strong or weak they were, they would all be killed. Just like that, they swept their way through. In 2 days, they had wiped out more than 50 tribes. Gradually, they approached the core of the 8-snake demon mountain range, where the 8 snakes intersected, which was also the territory of the 8-snake demon kingdom. If we want to get more merits, we have to destroy the 8 snakes demon kingdom. But be careful, they have many strong cultivators. They have at least 400 demons of the 9th godly emperor layer, maybe even more, Lu Ming said. In the previous battle of the Godly Dawn Peak, the 8 snakes demon kingdom had dispatched about 400 cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer. Lu Ming reckoned that the Devil Kingdom of 8 snakes would not send out all of its members. They should still be holding back. In that case, it was possible that there were more than 500 ninth-level divine emperors. There would definitely be more cultivators of the 7th and 8th godly emperor layer. If they relied on their real fighting strength, they would definitely die if they fought against so many strong cultivators. But they had a battle formation, so they didn't have to worry about anything. So many strong cultivators, how many merits will we get if we kill them all? Captain, let's hurry up, don't let the other teams get ahead of us. Indeed. Some people were looking forward to it. They wished they could immediately go to the 8 Snakes Demon Palace. Let's go, ordered Lu Ming. They didn't stop, they immediately rushed towards the 8 Snakes Demon Kingdom's palace. But after a short time, Lu Ming frowned. Because they hadn't encountered a single demon on their way. Normally, the closer they got to the 8 Snakes Demon Palace, the more demons they would encounter, and the stronger they would be. But there weren't any demons here. Especially when they passed by several tall cities, but those cities were empty, there wasn't a single demon. They also didn't find any demon corpses. It was as if these demons had disappeared into thin air. They should have retreated, some other teams got here before us. Lu Ming said. Then we have to hurry, urged Dandan. Now, he was also thirsting for merit points. Everyone sped up, rushing towards the demon palace. Soon, they were close to the demon palace. Boom, boom, boom. Suddenly, a violent rumbling sound came from the front. Then, they saw rays of divine light soaring to the sky, and a demonic aura filling the air. Obviously, a fierce battle was taking place in front of them. Sure enough, some teams had already arrived. Restrain your aura, let's go closer and take a look, Lu Ming said to everyone. He naturally wouldn't rush up rashly. According to his usual style, he would first approach to observe the situation. If the situation was favorable, he would attack, and if it wasn't, he would turn around and leave. For them, the distance of tens of thousands of miles was covered in the blink of an eye. In front of them, huge mountains appeared, and on these mountains, huge palaces were built. This was the 8 Snake Demon Palace. At this moment, the 8 Snake Demon Palace had completely turned into a battlefield. Demonic aura soared into the sky, and countless demons gathered into a large formation, turning into huge demonic shadows, roaring like thunder, shaking heaven and earth. On the other side, there were teams from the primitive universe. There were a total of 5 teams. Among them, the 2 teams that came with Lu Ming's group were there, and the captains were Da Gang and Xiao Niu. The 5 teams from the Heavenly Palace all activated the battle formation, condensing 5 golden divine swords, which were extremely powerful, clashing with the huge demons. It had to be said that this kind of formation in the Heavenly Palace was really mysterious. Once the formation talisman was integrated into the Heavenly Soldier armor, once activated, not only could it stimulate the cultivator's own strength, but it could also stimulate the power of the Heavenly Soldier armor, which could erupt with amazing power. The 5 golden battle swords were actually locked in a fierce battle with the demon's 10,000 demon god slaughtering formation. After fighting for a while, there was still no clear winner. Captain, should we make a move? Someone asked Lu Ming. Wait a minute, someone else is coming, Lu Ming said in a low voice. Sure enough, not far away, there were rays of light flying towards them. It was another team from the Heavenly Palace. As soon as this team arrived, they immediately set up a large formation, condensed a golden battle sword, and charged into the battlefield. With the addition of another team, the Heavenly Palace's strength became stronger, and they began to gain the upper hand, suppressing the demons. A few tall demons were suppressed, and they kept retreating. Captain, let's make a move quickly. If we make a move now, we can destroy the demon's formation in one fell swoop, someone suggested. Okay. Lu Ming nodded and was about to give the order to make a move, but immediately, Lu Ming's face became serious. Chapter 4039. Wait. Just as Lu Ming was about to give the order to attack the demons, his expression turned grave and he stopped everyone from doing so. Jiu Mo had sent Lu Ming telepathically, Lu Ming, don't attack. I sensed a terrifying strength in the palace. Terrifying strength. Lu Ming's expression was grave and he asked doubtfully. Indeed, it's a supreme god's qi. Said Jiyu Mo, supreme god. Lu Ming was astonished. There was a supreme god in the palace of the 8 snakes? Wasn't it said that the strongest cultivators in the kingdom of the 8 snakes were only cultivators of the 9th godly emperor Leia? How could there be a supreme god? Supreme gods were much stronger than godly emperors. Generally speaking, even cultivators of the 9th godly emperor Leia couldn't compete with supreme gods. If there was a celestial emperor in the 8-snake demon palace, then the people of the heavenly palace would be in danger. That qi is very weak. It seems like a supreme god, but it doesn't seem like one. Whispered Jiyu Mo muttered, as if he himself was somewhat puzzled. Boom. At this moment, in the depths of the 8-snake demon palace, a terrifying devilish qi erupted. The devilish qi soared to the sky, and a figure suddenly appeared in the sky. It was also a fiend, but it looked very old. It was an old fiend. It's His Majesty the King. It's really His Majesty the King. His Majesty the King came out. Did he break through? That qi isn't a demon emperor's qi, it's a demon emperor's qi. Shouted many demons. Demons and gods were very similar, but they weren't divided into godly emperors and supreme gods, they were divided into demon emperors and demon emperors. Demon emperors were equal to godly emperors. Demon emperors were equal to godly emperors. That old man was the king of the 8 snakes demon kingdom. Creatures of the ancient desolate universe, die! Shouted the king of the 8 snakes demon kingdom. He turned into a beam of demonic light and moved towards one of the troops of the heavenly palace. Shio! The shocking demonic qi condensed into a demonic sword and slashed at the team. The sword qi soared into the sky and its power was shocking. Control the formation with all your might. Block it. The leader of that group roared. The group of 50 people activated the formation with all their strength, condensing a golden divine sword and slashing forward. Boom! A demonic sword and a divine sword clashed head-on, causing an earth-shattering boom. One side of the sky was filled with demonic qi, while the other side was filled with golden divine light. However, this situation only lasted for a few seconds. The demonic qi suddenly flourished and completely suppressed the golden divine light. With a bang, the golden battle sword directly shattered and exploded. The demonic sword did not stop and continued to slash forward. Block it. The expressions of everyone in that group changed drastically. They did their best to activate the formation. A light barrier appeared around the 50 of them. It was a defensive light barrier. Boom. The demonic sword ruthlessly slashed at the defensive light barrier, causing another earth-shattering boom to erupt. The next moment, cracks appeared on the defensive light barrier. Then, with a bang, the defensive light barrier exploded. Horrible shrieks spread in the air. Of the 50 people in that group, at least 20 of them let out blood-curdling screams. Their bodies exploded and they died on the spot. Even though they had celestial armors that could block a full-strength attack of a cultivator of the 9th godly emperor Leia, it was useless. They were killed by the sharp sword qi. The remaining people were a bit stronger, but they were also pushed back. Many of them had wounds all over their bodies and were coughing up blood. They were seriously injured. Only the leader was in a much better condition. He was not seriously injured. That was because the leader was a second-class celestial soldier. His armor could block a full-strength attack of a cultivator of the first great supreme god Leia. Damn it. It's a great supreme god. How could there be a great supreme god in the 8 snakes demon mountain range? The people from the other teams also cried out in horror. All right. Kill all the creatures in the primitive universe. Kill them all. Destroy the heavenly palace's trash. The demons' morale was greatly boosted. Many of them shouted excitedly. In the past, the king of the 8 snakes demon mountain range had been in seclusion to break through to the great supreme god Leia. Everything was handled by Prince Samo Luo. In fact, no one was confident that the king could break through to the great supreme god Leia. It was too difficult to break through to the great supreme god Leia. In the history of the 8 snakes demon mountain range, there were only a few who could break through to the great supreme god Leia. Unexpectedly, the king of the 8 Snakes Demon Mountain Range had really broken through to the great supreme god layer. It was really exciting. Kill. The king of the 8 Snakes Demon Mountain Range roared. He turned into a demon sword and attacked another group. This team was Da Gang's team. Fast, too fast. It was so fast that Da Gang and the others could not dodge it. 50 people moving together slowed down a lot. However, they did not dare to split up. There were so many demon experts here. If they split up and did not set up a great array, they would die. Activate the great array. Activate the great array. Da Gang shouted crazily. Their group activated the great array and condensed a golden sword to fight against the king of the 8 Snakes Demon Mountain Range. Unfortunately, the result was similar to the previous group. Under the attack of the demon sword, the battle array collapsed. Nearly half of the people inside died on the spot. The remaining people also suffered heavy injuries. Only the captain, Da Gang, was not injured because he did not rely on his second-grade celestial soldier battle armor. 2 groups were broken in succession. Once the battle array was broken, these people were equivalent to being crippled. One had to know that there were countless demons in the surroundings. They were surrounded by demons and could not break out. After breaking 2 groups, the king of the 8 Snakes Demon Mountain Range did not have any intention of stopping. He continued to attack, killing his way to the 3rd group. Although the 3rd group resisted with all their might, the result was the same as the previous 2 groups. They were also broken, and a small half of their people died. There were originally 6 groups, but 3 of them were crippled in an instant. Only 3 groups were left. At this time, the king of the 8 Snakes Demon Mountain Range stopped. He stood in the air and said, "Activate the 10,000 demon god slaughtering great array. Annihilate them, kill." Countless demons roared and activated the 10,000 demon god slaughtering great array. Huge demonic shadows rushed towards the Heavenly Palaces group. The 3 groups that were crippled did not have a battle array and could not resist these demons. They were killed one after another. Only 3 groups were still intact. They relied on their battle array to resist. However, with only 3 groups, they were not a match for the 10,000 demon god slaughtering great array. They were completely at a disadvantage. If this continued, the battle array would break and people would die. That king of the 8 Snakes Demon Mountain Range actually stopped attacking. In the distance, Lu Ming was astonished. With the king of the 8 Snakes Demon Mountain Range strength, he should be able to break the battle array of the remaining 3 groups in one go. That way, he could easily annihilate the Heavenly Palaces group. Why did he stop after breaking 3 groups? Chapter 40. Logically speaking, shouldn't the king of the 8 Snake Demon Kingdom be able to defeat the remaining 3 teams in one go? As long as the battle formation of the Heavenly Palace was destroyed, the people of the Heavenly Palace would be at their mercy. However, the king of the 8 Snake Demon Kingdom only destroyed 3 of the teams and left the other 3 behind. It was a little strange. "I know, I finally understand." At this moment, Ji Mo shouted again. "Ji Mo, what do you understand?" Lu Ming asked. "I can see that this guy has not really broken through to the Divine Emperor realm. The aura he exudes is just an illusion. I reckon that there is a big problem when he broke through, and he's only half a step into the Divine Emperor realm," Ji Mo said. "Half a step into the Divine Emperor realm?" Lu Ming was puzzled. How could such a situation happen? Yes, in the history of the chaotic universe, there are many such cases. Usually, there are people who are not qualified to break through to the Divine Emperor realm, but they force themselves to do so. There are many such people who fail, but there are also cases like this where they only succeed by half a step. In such cases, their cultivation realm is extremely unstable. They will be in the Divine Emperor realm for a while, and then they will be in the Divine Emperor realm for a while. Moreover, if they can't completely enter the Divine Emperor realm within 10,000 years, their body will explode and they will die. Ji Mo explained. "You're saying that when he attacked just now, he was in the Divine Emperor realm, but now, he has fallen to the Divine Emperor realm?" Lu Ming was smart enough to understand it. His eyes were filled with killing intent. "That's right." Ji Mo nodded. How did he calculate the time of his fall? Will he recover to the Divine Emperor realm in the next moment? Lu Ming asked. No, it will take at least a few hours to recover to the Divine Emperor realm after falling to the Divine Emperor realm, Jiumo said. A few hours. Lu Ming's eyes shone even brighter. A plan emerged in his mind. Kid, now is the best time to strike, Jiumo said. That's right. However, the 10,000 demons great formation cannot be underestimated. We have to think of a way to deal with it. We can only rely on Dandan now. Almost instantly, a complete plan appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Everyone, I plan to take action and kill the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. Following that, Lu Ming sent a sound transmission to Dandan, Ling Yue, and the others. What? Hearing Lu Ming's words, everyone was shocked and looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming actually wanted to kill a god emperor? This was an immortal emperor. Even if they set up a battle formation, it would be of no use. Only death awaited them. The lesson of the past was right in front of them. Was Lu Ming crazy? Don't worry, I'm not crazy. This king of the 8-snake demon kingdom hasn't completely stepped into the god emperor realm. He's only half a step into the god emperor realm. Lu Ming immediately explained the news that Bone Demon had told him to everyone. When everyone heard this, they were extremely surprised. Mu Yun, what's your plan? Ling Yue asked. My plan is to first kill the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. However, with so many of us going over, the other party will definitely discover that it's hiding in the 10,000 demons god slaughtering great formation. It won't be easy to kill them, therefore, you and I can only quietly go over and use our strongest methods to kill the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom in one fell swoop. As for Dandan, he will quietly set up a formation to break the 10,000 demons god slaughtering great formation. Of course, he will also set up a formation that can hide our auras. After the two of us kill the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom, we will quickly gather and set up a battle formation to hunt down the demons. Lu Ming quickly explained his plan. His plan was mainly based on the 3 rings. In the first ring, Dandan would first set up the formation. In the second ring, he and Ling Yue would take action and use their strongest offensive methods to kill the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom in one fell swoop. In the third ring, they would quickly gather and set up a battle formation to break through the 10,000 demons god slaughtering great formation and kill the demons. Don't worry, leave it to me, Dandan nodded. Suddenly, dense runes spread out from his body and his figure disappeared into thin air. Lu Ming and the others continued to wait. The situation at the Heavenly Palace was even more critical at this moment. The 3 teams that had formed a battle formation could only barely defend. They were extremely passive and probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. As for the 3 teams that had their battle formations broken, they were in an even worse state. The 3 teams originally had a total of 150 people, but now, there were only 3 left. Yes, there were only 3 captains left. They relied on their second-class heavenly armors to bitterly hold on. The others were all dead. Not a single one was left. Even the 3 captains wouldn't be able to hold on for long. The second-class heavenly armors weren't omnipotent. They would run out of energy. I'm unwilling. I just became a heavenly soldier. The remaining people let out unwilling roars and then used all their strength to resist. They were unwilling to die here. Even if there was a 1 in 10,000 chance, they had to fight for it. This was exactly what Lu Ming wanted. It could buy them more time. Dandan, hurry up. Lu Ming whispered. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom had fallen to the divine emperor realm for about a few hours, but the exact number of hours was not certain. However, by the time they made their move, the other party had already recovered his divine emperor cultivation. That would be troublesome. Fortunately, Dandan's speed was very fast. In less than 2 hours, he had already returned. You can make your move now. It's already settled, Dandan said. With a wave of his hand, runes climbed onto Lu Ming and Ling Yue's bodies, causing their bodies to seem invisible. Their auras also became extremely secretive. The 2 of them didn't stop and directly set off. Following the side, They bypassed the 10,000 demon god slaughtering array and headed toward the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom stood in the sky with his hands behind his back. He was very confident. Obviously, he didn't expect that someone would dare to attack him. The battle strength he had displayed before was enough to scare people out of their wits. Therefore, he wasn't too wary. Lu Ming and Ling Yue were enveloped by the array set up by Dandan as they quietly approached the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. On the way, Lu Ming was still observing the situation of the battlefield. The 3 captains who didn't have a battle formation had already fallen. Even if they had a second-tier heavenly soldier armor, they wouldn't be able to last for so long. As for the remaining 3 teams that had set up a battle formation, they could be defeated at any time. This was because the auras of many people inside were extremely weak. Blood was flowing out of their mouths, and they were about to run out of energy. Their battle formation could collapse at any time. Boom! Right at this moment, a shocking rumble resounded, followed by a series of miserable shrieks. One of the battle formations of one of the teams finally couldn't hold on any longer and was defeated. Of the 50 people who formed the battle formation, more than 20 were killed by the demons and died on the spot. Chapter 40-41. Another battle formation was broken, and half of the people died on the spot. The remaining people were also flying for their lives. Unfortunately, they couldn't fly out at all. They were like caged birds, filled with fear. Kill, kill, ha ha ha. After killing these creatures of the desolate universe, we can have a celebratory feast tonight and have a full meal. Be careful, leave the corpses intact. Don't destroy them. These are all great supplements. The surrounding demons roared and activated the 10,000 demon god slaughtering array to chase after the heavenly soldiers of the heavenly palace. Without the battle formation, these heavenly soldiers were no match for the demons and were constantly hunted down. The remaining 20 or so people died one after another. At this moment, Lu Ming and Ling Yue were already within 100 miles of the 8-snake demon kingdom's king. You attack here, I'll kill my way over. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Ling Yue. At a distance of 100 miles, the power of Ling Yue's arrow was completely at its peak. All right, you have to be careful, Ling Yue said with worry in her eyes. Lu Ming went over to fight. If the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom's battle prowess was still at the God Emperor realm, then Lu Ming would be in danger. As for her, she still had room to escape. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled and continued to approach the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. In Ling Yue's hand, the blood-stained elven royal bow had already appeared. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from Ling Yue's body. A towering tree appeared, and a majestic power poured into Ling Yue's elven royal bow. Wang! The elven royal bow trembled, and an arrow condensed. All of this seemed slow, but it was actually very fast. In an instant, an arrow flew through the air and shot towards the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. As soon as the arrow was shot, the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom sensed it. How dare you! You're courting death. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom roared, and a powerful demonic aura soared into the sky, transforming into a huge demon sword that slashed towards Ling Yue. However, the aura was far inferior to before. God Emperor Realm. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. As expected, the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom's cultivation was at the God Emperor Realm, not the God Emperor Realm. As long as it was a God Emperor, it was easy. Boom! In an instant, Ling Yue's arrow collided with the demon sword of the 8-snake demon kingdom's king, causing an earth-shattering explosion. Then, Ling Yue's arrow exploded with a bang, and the demon sword also collapsed. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom's body trembled as he retreated. Even though the king of the 8-snake devil kingdom was no longer in the God Emperor realm and had temporarily fallen to the God Emperor realm, his battle prowess was still shockingly strong. After all, he had broken through to the great supreme god layer. Even if he had become a godly emperor, he was still much stronger than ordinary cultivators of the 9th godly emperor layer. It had to be known that Ling Yue had already broken through to the 4th layer of the divine emperor realm. Using the Elven King bow with all her might to kill an ordinary 9th-layer Divine Emperor Realm cultivator was as easy as cutting melons and vegetables. However, that attack from earlier had managed to tie with the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. Fortunately, Ling Yuwei wasn't the only one who attacked. The moment Ling Yuwei made her move, Lu Ming also made his move. He held the Gale Bead in his left hand and the Ice Mystic Rod in his right. First, he activated the Gale Bead, and a powerful gale was drawn out, transforming into a terrifying wind blade that shot towards the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. When Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the 2nd layer of the Godly Emperor realm, the power within the Gale Bead was already comparable to that of a 9th-layer Godly Emperor realm cultivator. And now, Lu Ming's cultivation had already broken through to the 3rd layer of the Godly Emperor realm. Coupled with the fact that his Great Divine Wind technique had reached the large success stage, the power of the gale he drew out was several times stronger than before. At the same time that the Gale Wind blade flew out, Lu Ming's taboo energy was crazily channeled into the Ice Mystic Rod. The Ice Mystic Rod rapidly grew in size, like a mountain range spanning between heaven and earth, and smashed towards the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. Lu Ming's timing was simply too good. It just so happened that the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom and Ling Yuwei had exchanged a move and retreated. At this time, the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom had just lost his old strength and had yet to recover his new strength, but Lu Ming's attack had already arrived. Roar. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom let out a roar, forcibly erupting with an intense demonic aura. A pair of demon wings also rapidly grew in size, protecting him in the middle. Boom. The Gale Wind blade struck the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. The powerful force blasted the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom back, and at the same time, the scorching gale continuously burned the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom let out a painful roar, and at this time, the Ice Mystic Rod had already arrived. Lu Ming and Ling Yuwei's attacks came one after another, not giving the other party a chance to breathe at all. Lu Ming had already broken through to the 3rd layer of the Godly Emperor realm, and the power of the Ice Mystic Rod with his full strength was already terrifying to the extreme. It was not weaker than the arrows shot by Ling Yuwei. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom let out a roar, his eyes filled with fear as he used all his strength to resist. However, at this time, they were afraid that they could only use 50% of their strength. Boom. The Ice Mystic Rod accurately struck the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom. A destructive power exploded, and the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom's pair of demon wings were the first to shatter. The Ice Mystic Rod did not stop, bombarding the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom's body. A large amount of blood mist shot out from the king's body, and his body flew down like a meteor, crashing into a huge mountain peak. With a violent explosion, the mountain peak and the palace on top of the mountain peak completely exploded, and a huge pit appeared on the ground. And the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom's body was embedded in the huge pit. However, he was too miserable. His upper body, including his head, was already gone. He had been completely shattered by the Ice Mystic Rod. With only the lower half of his body left, he was naturally dead. The king of the 8-snake demon kingdom had fallen. This time, all the demons present were stunned. Everything that had happened just now seemed to have happened in the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint. From the moment Ling Yuwei made her move, and then Lu Ming made his move, killing the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom in one go, it was all completed in an instant. By the time the surrounding demons reacted, the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom had already been killed. These demons were completely stunned. Their eyes were wide open, and they found it hard to believe that their king had been killed just like that. Just a moment ago, their king was still filled with an invincible spirit. He had the battle strength of a god emperor, and he had defeated an entire team with a single move. He was powerful and invincible. But in the next moment, how did he get killed? Their minds were unable to wrap their heads around it. Not only them, even the people from the heavenly palace were stunned. However, they reacted quickly and hurriedly attacked with all their might, wanting to rush out. They almost made a hole in the 10,000 demon god slaughtering array. The king is dead. Ah, damn it. Attack with all your might and kill these heavenly palace bastards to avenge the king. Kill. Countless demons roared, and the 10,000 demon god slaughtering array was activated again, attacking the people from the heavenly palace. At the same time, there were also many attacks aimed at Lu Ming and the others. Chapter 40-42. Those demons also launched their attacks, charging toward Lu Ming and Ling Yue. However, Lu Ming and the others were prepared. After killing the king of the kingdom of the 8 snakes, they retreated at full speed. Lu Ming's subordinates quickly rushed towards Lu Ming and the others. After a few breaths, they gathered together. At the same time, Dandan's figure appeared at the right time and joined them. As soon as they gathered together, they started activating the battle formation. BZZZ, BZZZ, BZZZ. Their battle armors were dazzling and resonating with each other, as if there was an invisible thread connecting them. Battle formation, activate. Dazzling light burst out, condensing into a golden battle sword. It slashed out horizontally, colliding with the demon's attack, blocking the demon's attack. Kill. Kill them. Activate the 10,000 demons slaughtering God's great formation. Today, none of them will leave. Kill them all. Avenge the king, shouted a large number of fiends. They were using their full strength to activate the 10,000 demons slaughtering God's great formation. This was the capital of the kingdom of the 8 snakes. Before, the kingdom of the 8 snakes had gathered all their strong cultivators. Therefore, there were many fiends there. There were at least 500 fiends of the 9th godly emperor layer. There were even more fiends of the 8th and 7th godly emperor layer. Altogether, there were more than 10,000 fiends. It was the real 10,000 demons slaughtering God's great formation. 13 gigantic fiends had condensed. They were terrifyingly strong. Even if they weren't as strong as great supreme gods, they weren't far from it. If the troops of the heavenly palace hadn't relied on the battle formation and the celestial battle armors, they wouldn't have been able to stop them. The difference between them was too great. Even so, they needed at least 5 or 6 troops to stop them. Now, the heavenly palace only had 3 troops, including Lu Ming and the others. They couldn't fight against them head-on. Of the 13 gigantic fiends, 6 of them were attacking the remaining 2 troops with their full strength. 5 fiends were attacking Lu Ming and the others. They wanted to kill them all. Each of the demonic shadows was gigantic. Demonic chi soared into the sky. They held demonic sabers in their hands. With a slash, the void was split into 2. It was extremely terrifying. Lu Ming and the others activated the battle formation with all their might, but they were only able to block a few moves before they were sent flying. Many of them felt their blood boil, their faces flushed red, and they almost vomited blood. The remaining 2 teams were also like arrows at the end of their flight. It was very dangerous for them to deal with the 6 huge demonic shadows. I don't want to die. Among them, Xiao Niu roared in his heart, his eyes full of unwillingness. Although Lu Ming and Ling Yue had suddenly exploded and killed the king of the 8-snake demon kingdom, causing his jaw to drop. Previously, he had looked down on Lu Ming and the others, but he had never thought that Lu Ming and Ling Yue would actually have such strength. This also allowed them to see the hope of survival, and they wanted to rush out in one go. Unfortunately, they were unable to do so in the end. Their strength had weakened too much, and they were unable to rush out. Dandan, what do you think? Is that enough? Lu Ming sent a sound transmission to Dandan. That's enough, watch me. Dandan replied. Following that, he took a few steps forward, and runes spread out, disappearing into the void. Following that, densely packed runes appeared in the void, forming a large array. The situation was extremely similar to the time when Dandan broke the 10,000 demons god slaughtering formation. As soon as Dandan made his move, the 10,000 demons god slaughtering formation of the demons stopped operating. Attack the left, then the right. Dandan began to give pointers. Lu Ming and the others immediately activated the battle formation. The golden sword light first slashed towards the left. This sword collided with the demonic blade of a huge demonic shadow. However, the location of the collision was very particular. It happened to be the flaw in the formation. Boom! The huge demonic shadow frantically retreated, and then with a bang, it collapsed. The great formation was broken. The demons inside were flying everywhere. Then, under Danden's guidance, Lu Ming and the others continued to attack. Every time he made a move, a huge demonic silhouette would be blasted apart. In the blink of an eye, the 5 huge demonic shadows attacking Lu Ming and the others were all destroyed. The remaining people in the Heavenly Palace were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Lu Ming and the others had defeated the 5 huge demonic shadows so easily. They were originally in despair, but now, they saw hope again. Muyun, quick, come and save us. Xiao Niu roared excitedly. Save you? No, 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 we are weak. We will drag you down if we go over. You are strong, I believe you can escape on your own. The one who spoke was not Lu Ming, but Dandan. His tone was full of disdain. Previously, Xiao Niu was very disdainful of Lu Ming and the others. He also said that he did not want to act with Lu Ming and the others because Lu Ming and the others would be a burden to him. Now, Dandan returned Xiao Niu's own words to him. Xiao Niu's face was flushed red, and he wanted to find a hole to hide in. With the strength of Lu Ming and the others, how could they be a burden to them? Wasn't that ridiculous? We are all heavenly soldiers. You can't leave us to die, Xiao Niu shouted. He did not want to admit his mistake and wanted to use the rules of the heavenly soldiers to suppress Lu Ming and the others. We are not leaving you to die. We can't even protect ourselves. There are so many demons. Oh, I can't take it anymore. Let's fight back. Oh, Dandan was making a big fuss. Lu Ming and the others controlled the battle formation to kill the demons around them, but they did not go over to help. Xiao Niu was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Xiao Niu, look at the situation now. Why don't you apologize to Captain Muyun and admit your mistake? Another captain yelled. That's right, Xiao Niu. You are as blind as a bat. Hurry up and admit your mistake. I don't want to die with you. That's right. Captain Muyun is peerless. How can you insult him? Hurry up and apologize. This time, it was Xiao Niu's subordinates who shouted. They did not want to die with Xiao Niu. Xiao Niu was so angry that his lungs almost exploded, but in such a situation, he had to admit his mistake. Muyun, it's my fault. I was as blind as a bat. Please forgive me. Just treat my words as a fart. Please help me, Xiao Niu shouted. He was extremely unwilling, but in such a situation, he could only lower his head. That's more like it. I wanted you to kneel down and admit your mistake, but seeing that the situation is special, I'll skip it, Dandan shouted, feeling very comfortable. Afterward, Lu Ming and the rest's battle formation flew over and did the same thing, destroying all the huge demonic shadows. Kill the demons, Lu Ming shouted and controlled the battle formation. The golden sword light continued to slash out violently. Every time the sword light slashed, a large number of demons would be killed. Once the god-slaughtering 10,000 demons array was destroyed, the demons were no match for Lu Ming and the others even though there were many of them. Chapter 40-43. Xiao Niu and the other team gasped for breath and flew to the side. They could only watch Lu Ming and the others kill the evil beasts. They also wanted to kill evil beasts, but unfortunately, they had been fighting against the evil beasts for a long time and were on the verge of collapsing. They were all very weak and couldn't maintain the battle formation anymore. Without the battle formation, they couldn't compete with the evil beasts at all. Not only could they not kill the evil beasts, but they would also die at their hands. They could only seize the time to recover. Lu Ming and the others also seized the time to kill the evil beasts. Without the 10,000 evil god-slaughtering great formation, the evil beast's strength was scattered. They couldn't compete with Lu Ming and the others. Golden sword lights flashed and a large number of evil beasts fell like wheat. Kill them. Die. Some demons roared furiously, revealing a crazed expression. They dashed toward Lu Ming and the rest without regard for their lives, wanting to fight them to the death. But, swoosh. A golden sword light flashed and a dozen evil beasts of the 9th godly emperor layer were killed. Their corpses fell to the ground. Chaos. It was complete chaos. The scene was in chaos. The evil beasts had lost their will to fight and were running away in all directions. Some evil beasts went crazy and wanted to kill Lu Ming and the others. Of course, Lu Ming killed them easily. After a short time, the ground was covered with evil beasts' corpses. Not far away, the other two teams of the Heavenly Palace looked greedy. Those evil beasts were all above the seventh godly emperor layer. Each drop of evil beast's blood could be exchanged for a lot of merit points. Especially Xiaoniao, the light of greed in his eyes was even more intense. Everybody, there's so much evil beast's blood. How could we let Mu Yun's team have all of it? Let's go and collect some, whispered Xiaoniao to the others. That's not good. After all, they saved us, said someone hesitantly. You're looking at the problem too superficially. They saved us, but if we hadn't stopped the evil beasts, how could they have had the opportunity to break the evil beasts' great formation? How could they have had the opportunity to kill the king of the 8 snake evil beasts? It's all because of us. We should get some evil beast's blood, right? Xiaoniao sneered. Yes, Captain Xiaoniao is right. We should share a portion of the evil demon spirit blood, someone said. However, some people shook their heads, still feeling that it was inappropriate. Humph, if you don't want the evil demon spirit blood, then we don't need to share the evil demon spirit blood with you. Xiaoniao snorted and rushed out to collect the evil demon spirit blood. More than a dozen of his subordinates also rushed out to collect the demon blood with Xiaoniao, while the others did not move. Although these people were tempted by the demon spirit blood, they couldn't bring themselves to do it. After all, Lu Ming and the others had just saved them. If they wanted to divide the spoils of war with Lu Ming's group in the blink of an eye, it would be too shameless. Captain, should we go up? Someone from the other team asked the captain. No one is allowed to go up. If anyone goes up, don't blame me for being rude. Xiaoniao may be shameless, but I am, said the captain coldly. His cold gaze swept over his team members. A few of them were originally very tempted and wanted to charge forward. However, when they were swept by his cold gaze, they immediately hesitated and didn't dare to charge forward. Lu Ming and the others naturally saw the actions of Xiaoniao and the others. Nests, shameless, really shameless. How dare they snatch the evil demon spirit blood from us? Damn it, we saved him. How dare they do this? Simply shameless. Ungrateful bastards. Many people in Lu Ming's team cursed loudly. Their voices spread far and wide. Xiaoniao and the others naturally heard them. Xiaoniao's face was very cold, but he didn't stop his actions. He was still collecting the evil demon spirit blood quickly. He snorted in his heart. Mu Yun, sooner or later, I will make you pay back the shame you have inflicted on me 10 times over. I will make you kneel in front of me and beg for mercy. Yes, not only was he not grateful to Lu Ming for saving him, but he also blamed Lu Ming for making him lose face. He regarded this as a great humiliation and must take revenge. They are really shameless. Let's go and slaughter them. In the crowd, Dandan gritted his teeth and said to Lu Ming, don't worry, let them collect for a while. Since there is free labor, why not use it? Let's hunt the evil demons first. Don't let them run away, Lu Ming said. His face was always calm, but in the depths of his eyes, there was a flash of killing intent. Ha ha ha, I understand. Okay, let's wait. Dandan laughed. He had been with Lu Ming for so long, so he knew Lu Ming too well. He could read Lu Ming's thoughts from Lu Ming's expression. With Lu Ming's character, would he give up the benefits in his hands and let Xiaoniao take it for free? How naive. Continue to hunt the evil demons. Lu Ming roared, constantly urging the battle formation to hunt the evil demons. The sword chi swept across hundreds of thousands of miles. Large numbers of evil demons were killed, and their corpses fell to the ground like raindrops. Seeing that Lu Ming and the others did not come to stop them, Xiaoniao sneered. Humph, a coward. Sure enough, you dare not violate the rules of the Heavenly Palace and attack us. Xiaoniao sneered in his heart. He became bolder and kept collecting the evil demon's spiritual blood. The other dozen people did the same. They thought that Lu Ming and the others did not dare to say anything, so they sped up. Drops of evil demons' spiritual blood flew out of the evil demons' corpses and were collected by them. Among Xiaonu's team, a few people could not resist the temptation and joined the crowd to collect the evil demons' spiritual blood. After a while, almost all the evil demons were killed. Of course, most of them escaped. After all, there were so many evil demons that they could not kill all of them. Naturally, a group of people would escape. At this time, Xiaonu and the others had collected at least half of the evil demons' spiritual blood. It's about time. Xiaonu nodded secretly. If possible, he wanted to collect all the evil demons' spiritual blood. However, if he went too far, he was really afraid that Lu Ming would go crazy. So, he wanted to quit while he was ahead and retreat. He moved, wanting to return to the team and then leave. "Did I let you go?" A cold voice sounded. Then, a powerful aura shrouded Xiaonu and the others. Lu Ming stared coldly at Xiaonu. The golden battle sword condensed by the battle formation was aimed at Xiaonu and the others from a distance, as if it would launch a fatal blow at any time. Xiaonu and the others stiffened and did not dare to move. Although he had the second-class celestial soldier armor, the energy in the armor had been depleted in the previous battle. It would take a while for the armor to absorb the energy between heaven and earth to recover. Without the second-class celestial soldier armor, he would definitely not be able to withstand the attack launched by Lu Ming and the others. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.